Alright, hello everyone. So I'm going to be quickly showing you how to do a Trebuchet lab, which involves circular motion and torque. So what you're going to need, you're obviously going to need a Trebuchet. This is the size of ours. It's a good size. It was in the old Whitman wood shop, woodworks class. And the materials you're going to need is a cup kind of type thing to fire the projectile once you have the Trebuchet. A string which will create tension between the firing arm, which is this arm, all the way to the pivot point. It will give you that, and it will hold the thing back while you're firing it, obviously. And then the independent variable for this lab is weights, which is the counterweight. You want to measure this part. We measured it. It's 2.94 kilograms or 1.94, something like that. And then after you've measured that, you want to make sure you have, because you need to do 10 trials, so you want to make sure you have a variable amount of weights that are known. This is obviously a 4 kilogram mass. You'll want to have more because you want to do 10 trials starting at 2 kilograms. The next thing, you want a known projectile, the thing you're shooting. You want to know the mass of it, otherwise, well, you can't do a lot of calculations now, can you? So we weighed this. It's a we put a 1 gram weight or something. We put a weight in it and we measured it. It's 0.1066 kilograms. There's a lot of bugs out here. Yeah, so you're shooting the earth with your Trebuchet. And then you're also going to want a measuring device, a tape measure, for example, or a ruler, either works. This one isn't big enough, long enough, because you're going to be shooting around preferably 20 feet in the most ideal condition that we got. So the spots where you're going to, the first thing you want to do for the lab, obviously, is to put the weight in the lab, because, well, that's what we're measuring, right? So what you're going to want to do, you're going to want to come to this side. There's going to be a pin holding the copper thing. It's going to be like right here. I'll put it back in later, but you want to take that out, obviously, so you can get the counterweight undone. Now, when you have the counterweight off, you want to push pull the copper piece off so you can get the counterweight out. There you go. So now it's out, you take the weight and you put it in the Trebuchet. You can try to center it, makes it better. So there you go, did that. Now we're simply going to put it back on, obviously. Excuse the horrible angle, I have to use both hands. So, there we go. Okay. So, now we have a 4 kilogram weight in the Trebuchet. I'm going to tie it back so I can put the pin on so it doesn't go flying without anything. There we go. So, more of a two-man job, but, you know, if you forget to record it at school, this is what you're going to have to do. And so we're going to put the pin back in because you want the counterweight to be secure. You're going to take your little copper pin, and obviously you're going to put it on there's a hole right there, if you can see it, right there. You're going to simply take the copper piece and put it in. Simple as that. So you can see, fits nicely. Now your counterweight is secured. So you can consider step 1 kind of done. So record the weight of the trial number, corresponding to the trial number. This will be the fourth would be the fourth, or yeah, third or something around that. So that's that. And what you're going to do next is you're going to begin the actual lab. So for 3 people, what you're going to have one person doing is sitting here. They're going to put the weight, obviously the projectile, into the carrier package, and what their job is going to be is to move this small hook that hooks the string to the Trebuchet, right? Okay, that's their job. But first, let's do a few more of what you want to measure. I'll show you exactly where in the specifications for one. So to measure the energy of the system, you're going to want to know how far is it falling from here to the ground. That way you have the height for potential energy. And obviously you need to know the mass of this combined thing, mass over there, to properly find the kinetic energy that this thing is shooting at, and potential energy of that dropping, and how much it's going over. You're also going to want to measure the distance from the pivot to the end of the counterweight arm is what I call it. And then you're also going to want to measure from the pivot to here, to the end of the thick part, because the I value is different here to there. It's a whole thing. It's very fun. So you're going to want to measure from here to here, and then you're wanting to measure from here to the end of the arm. Okay, and now for the second person's job, which is also extremely important. Your job is going to be to watch the trebuchet and say the ball lands around here or something, right? Like right down there. Maybe like here or something, right? Your job is going to be go like this. Okay, it landed here. Grab the other end of the tape measure. You're going to measure from where you are, so right exactly where it landed. You're going to measure it directly to here, to this stay of the trebuchet, because that is the most ideal spot where the projectile is leaving, because it will be right at the top of the swing. Now, the next step, the third person's job, they will need also another material. You need to have a handy dandy phone or a other timing utensil. You're simply going to turn it on, use your timer, and what you're going to be doing, you're going to be going, okay, you'll be standing like here or something, right? And I'm going to say, okay, 3, 2, 1, I'm firing. You're going to measure it about when it goes to here. When the projectile leaves, you want to hit the start timing, quickly hit it again when it hits the ground. It's a very small window. The time should generally be around the same, otherwise you might want to redo your lab if it just looks absurd. Right, makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick show of the trebuchet firing, obviously. I will not, I'll explain what you do, except it will be a bit different since I am doing it by myself. Okay, so here's the job of the firing person. I'm here. I'm going to release the hook that's holding the string, and then, so now it is primed because I'm holding it with the force of my finger, obviously. And here it goes. This is a 4 kilogram mass, and the person timing is going to start timing the second that this projectile leaves this kind of nest, you could say. So I'm going to kind of stand up so they can catch it. Yeah, and so it bounced pretty far, which is exactly what we had at the trial at school. At school, we did the trial at the Whitman driveway during the graduation practice. So that bounced about like, here, it went far. And you also notice that the trebuchet is indeed still swinging. That's an important factor because the no machine is obviously 100% efficient, so the potential energy of the counterweight dropping is not going to completely transfer into the kinetic energy of the projectile. That's one of the sources of error that I'm going to be analyzing because it's huge. So the ball landed around, around here, right? So if I had a second person, I'd say, for example, Jesse, he was firing it. I'll say, Jesse, here, grab hold at one end and let us measure. And then he would pull it to the mainstay right there, which is the that long part that's sticking out right there. And he would measure it to there. And then I would pull it taut and measure it to the spot where it bounced, which is would be right about there at my feet. Right. I'm going to shoot it one more time so we can just see it again. And again, if you want to have one more look at it, here you go. Originally, trebuchets were a lot bigger. Well, they are bigger, but this is obviously a small replica, not even close to the size of the legitimate trebuchet, which are used to knock down castle walls and such. So we'll try and get a more precise reading. I'll kind of maybe use my foot and see if I can track it. Okay, here's the same trial again. And of course, after the trial, you want to record, if you decide that that's a worthy trial to incorporate, you want to, well, obviously record the data in a data chart. That way you keep everything straight and you'll be able to calculate velocity easily because you'll have the distance and you'll have the time. And then you can use a calculated, you can find a calculated velocity through the means of rotational motion energy conservation and all that fun stuff, and torque. So here is the same lab again. 4 kilograms, all that fun. And here we go. So yeah, it landed just about where I was standing. So see, it has a very good distance. This is at 4 kilograms, so it increases distance as you go. So this is an okay distance for a 4 kilogram mass, but of course, if you're shooting something at 10 or so kilograms, you will want to find a broader space, like a street that has no cars coming down it, because you don't want to get hit by a car while you're doing this, or you don't want to scare your neighbors. Now that about concludes it. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I briefly missed. Of course, the question may be of where do I obtain a trebuchet, and well, unfortunately I don't have an answer. You can create one. This one was created obviously at the old woodworks class of Walt Whitman High School. You can create a smaller replica. I'm sure they sell them off eBay. Yeah, these are copper pipes that are hollow. These woods, obviously. Oh, another thing, you'll want to measure the mass of the firing arm, because you want to be able, later in the lab, you'll be finding the volume of that part, this part, and the arm carrying the counterweight. In order to, that volume will give you the percent mass that's distributed in each part of that, allowing you to find I, which is then of course used for rotational fun calculations. So I hope you enjoyed. This is obviously for my physics 1 lab, and yeah, it was really fun. A lot harder possibly than expected. We had a little problem with the this was not firing right, because when we put the ball in, it wouldn't really fire, it got stuck. So we had to create a new device, and that kind of simplified it greatly, because this needs improvement, more or less. So I hope this was what you were looking for. This has been a Trebuchet centrifugal motion or circular motion lab. Thank you.